Right, we're going to do the introduction to this video at the end because it's all finished. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to plaster behind pipes. This was all sand and cement behind this, so it was nice and dry, high suction background, so how to get around all that. We've got walls that are blended in, so we've got to blend in right the way around the room, and because we can't bead halfway up a wall, and we don't want to do the whole wall, I'm going to show you how to blend in to the original beads as well. So let's get started. Got these, we've got to get round radiator pipes. Now, as you know, sand and cement, this is a super high suction background. We're only blending in just a little job where the tiles were. A customer said to me he took some tiles off, can we just pop in and skim it for him, just the bottom half of the walls in his utility room. So I thought we were turning up to basically just some plastered walls with a bit of tile adhesive here and there, but it turns out the customer actually took off the top layer of plaster down to the base coat like this, which makes it more interesting because this is super high suction. But we've sealed that with SBR now. Now look at this as well. There's a little surprise for us. We've got to get around the back of these, which is fine, we can do that. I've made sure we got some SBR right in there. And also, look at this, we've got a little hole down here. Now, all the way down this wall there's no crack because these pipes are in this little conduit here. See, the thing with these copper pipes is, you might think to yourself now, what's he going to do there? Is he's going to go and get some bonding or some hard wall or some drywall adhesive and just fill that little hole up, put some scrim on it? Well, no, because these pipes, when they get hot, expand ever so slightly. Whenever someone buries pipes in the wall, they expand, they contract. Now, this capping is on because cement eats into the copper. So you can't fill it with sand and cement, you can't let sand and cement touch the copper because it's corrosive. You can fill it with gypsum, but what will happen is, because these expand and contract, it'll crack the plastic. Now, it's only a tiny little bit, and there is a radiator going back on here, so no one would probably ever noticed if there's a little hairline crack down there. But, add notes there. So, we're not going to fill it with a back coat plaster. Instead, I'm going to show you a little trick. For years and years, I was not a fan of this stuff at all. Expanding foam. In fact, I hated the thought of ever using expanding foam. I thought it was just a complete DIYers, bodgers sort of way of doing things. But after a bit of consideration, this does have its uses in certain applications, mainly because it's waterproof. Well, not waterproof, but it doesn't let damp transfer through. So it has special little things that you can use it for, I'd like to say. Now, here's one of them. If this was right at the wall, I probably wouldn't do it this way. There's loads of different ways of doing this. But what you've got to think is this stuff, it sets firm, you can cut it off lovely. This is the reason I hated it, because whenever I'd worked over it, I didn't take enough time cutting it off neat, so it was an absolute pain to skim over. Now, it is designed to be skimmed over. And granted, you can push holes into it, and that's why, if it was a massive area, I wouldn't say fill it with this and then skim it, because if someone pushes on the wall, you're going to crack through your finish, because this is just basically foam, isn't it? But down here, it's never really going to make a difference. So, basically, once that's cut off, we'll put some scrims over it. We can skim over it. But the fact that it's foam means that them pipes can expand and contract inside there. They can, move around because the foam will let them. Whereas if I encase that in bonding or any other backcoat plaster, it's going to set rock solid. As you know, this sand and cement is really high suction. Whenever you skim over sand and cement, if you've just done the sand and cement, you want to skim over it when it's still sort of green, so a day or two after, before it's completely dried out. This has been on for years and years, so the fact that we're down to this now, if you just sort of PVA'd this and tried to skim on it, it'd be off in no time. So we've given it a good coat of SBR, and we're giving the SBR plenty of time to cure so that it stops the suction and it'll actually be nice to skim over. Another little tip as well, if that was dusty, I'd give it a coat of stabilising solution first and then SBR it. You've always got to SBR after your stabilising solution. Stabilising solution doesn't seal, it just binds everything together. But anyway, SBR, give it a good coat, make sure, there's a little tip as well. Look, we've got a roller, a brush and a little cutting in brush, because all these little bits like here, go over here, this is a little tip for all the young lads out there that are doing the prep work. When you're getting little bits like this with your roller and all these little hard to get to bits, if they're a pain in the ass for you to get to, trust me, they're a pain in the ass for the plasterer. So make sure you cut in with your sealer. Loads of lads will just get the roller and go round the pipes and leave behind it. Well, this little bit in here is an absolute nightmare to skim. So make sure you get plenty of sealer in these. In fact, double up, give it 2 coats in the hard to get bits so that it's definitely covered, because it's a nightmare to try and skim it. And then when you get in there, if the stuff dries in straight away, oh, flipping pain in the backside. You can only do this if your trowel is really sharp. Right, when you cut the foam off, don't just start ripping it off with your hands. This is what makes it an actual nightmare to skim over. I find a multi-tool is fantastic at cutting foam off. Multi-tool is great, but also if your trowel is very sharp, using that can also be great. But ideally what you want is, you want that as flat, as smooth as possible, with no bits sticking out, because they just keep popping through your finish. Obviously we've got a bit on the skirting board we've got to clean off as well. But that's it now. That will be fine to skim over. We're going to put some fibre tape over it, some scrim over it, and that'll be it. And then pipes have got a little bit of room to expand and contract in the foam, so they shouldn't crack the finish on the front. Like I say, we'll put a load of fibre tape over it, but that's one way of getting over heating pipes that are buried right close to the surface. There's actually a better way of doing this. If you're going to be involved in burying the pipes in the wall, there's a far better way of making it so they can never crack. You'd have to use foam, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Because this wall isn't getting skimmed all the way to the top, only halfway, we've got to reuse these beads. Now, what you ideally want to do is scrape back down to the metal as best as you possibly can, make sure there's no bits sticking over, so that when you skim them, you're blending back into a bead again. It's not ideal, but it is doable. It just takes a bit more faffing round than we're working up to a normal new skim bead. That's it. As soon as that powder goes in the water, you know, that's it now. You're staying. Now, we've got a few little awkward bits to get to. Underneath here, there's one little area. Down these pipes and behind these pipes. And down here, a lot of it I'll be able to get with my trowel, because you know I don't like using anything else. If I can use that for everything, I will do. But we've also got a little assortment of different plastic spatulas, and this. Look how brand new that is. I've had this for about 8 years. I hardly ever use a corner trowel. But I'm thinking, because I've got to try and come here, come, quick. They haven't got time to wait for you taking ages. Because I've got to try and get down here and behind here to try and get this as neat as possible. I may use the corner trowel in there. So probably about the 8th time it's ever been used in its whole life. But yeah, there's a few little bits to get to, so we'll make sure we get all that anyway for you. And also, my favourite little tool, this, for getting in and around little awkward, hard to get to bits. This gets used all the time. I've always got my small tool with me. And a little tip for you as well. Doesn't always get cleaned off the best. But a little tip for you. It's worth, when you get a small tool, really rubbing it down for ages, you know, get the edges. The edges of my small tool had a sharp worn in, rubbed it on a flagstone for only about an hour whilst I was having my dinner, you know, but that's literally nice and sharp now. So I can literally polish with it. It's worth doing that. The only problem for me really, I like to have a very thin trowel because you can apply more pressure, it doesn't give me much wrist pain. But I've got to try and get in bits like that. Now look, if I hold my hand here, I literally can't reach to the edge. So you have to find other little ways of getting your trowel in there. So one of the ways I do is just hold my trowel by the handle like that. Or you can usually go in the opposite way over your toe. There's also, if you look here, zoom right in, there's still a little bit of tile adhesive left on here. But we can get over that, no problem. That won't pose any challenge to us today. Now, when it gets a little bits like this, I don't know if you can see that or not, I don't know if Kieran gets down low enough, but we've got a little bit underneath here to get to. So I need a little tool to fit in there. That just fits. So, wet it. Get in there. Now, some fellas like to leave these little bits to the end and go round and get them all. Well, I like to get them as I go round. And I'll tell you another thing I do. Because that fits in there nicely, that needs wiping off. So, I know it's messy. I know I'm just lazy, aren't I? Could have gone to the water bucket, but it's all the way over there. I will leave that there so that when I come back to that bit next, this is here waiting to go. Now here we are now, going over the bare sand and cement, but it's had a good coat of SPR, it's had plenty of time to go in. And all I'm doing as well is, because we're working back into this bead, I'm literally can you hear me trowel tapering right into that bead? These are the awkward bits. I'm trying to get round to this door frame nicely. I've got to get in behind these hinges. I've only got a thin trowel, but what I'm doing is I'm not overloading the trowel. I'm only putting a little bit on, enough, because I can't handle plaster all over the frames. It makes me feel sick. So I just take a tiny little bit and I'll wipe it off and I'll go in with it, you know. I'll just slowly work my way in. People think you have to go absolutely rapid. Sometimes it's faster to go slower and neater. It's actually faster to slow down and put the stuff on neater. So your arms aren't going as quick, but you haven't got half the cleaning up to do and half the scrubbing to do, because you've made a mess of everything. So just take your time and go in neat. This side's easier, so we just open the door. This will not get it all over the frame. Instead of going loaded up straight to the frame, I go there and then in. Yeah, a bit on, take it, and then in. Look at the door frame, it's not getting covered in plaster because I'm only pinching a bit and going in. Yeah. I pinch a bit and then go in. Do it slow motion for you. I'm away from the frame. I smear it on, yeah? I'm away from the frame. The most of it's covered. I pinch a bit and then go in. And that way I'm not getting the whole door frame covered in finish. It's less cleaner to do and less struggling when you're trying to trowel up and you're pulling big chunks of plaster off that. Zoom round from piece so you can see what's happening. Next thing, look at how I'm blending in. Watch, even on the first coat, I'm pressing with the, I'm literally holding the trowel on the wall like this. I'm literally doing that. I'm literally blending it in as it's going on. The last thing you want to do is be leaving a big ridge like that. Can you see that? Zoom down so you can see that. Look at the difference between that where it's just put on and that where it's actually blended in. Even on your first coat, even when it's still wet, you still want to be blending the stuff in. If you try to blend into a different surface, you don't want any ridges whatsoever. What I need to do is get in behind these pipes, so as far as I can, right to the handle, and then I take the toe in as far as it'll go. I will need other tools no doubt in there. As you can round everything, try not to get anything covered in plastic. Okay, try and keep everything as neat as possible, even around all these little clips, you know. It's the attention to detail that matters. We've got plenty of time because the walls have been SPR'd, so even though they're high suction, because they've had a good solid coat of SPR and plenty of time to go in, there's no suction. They're alright on the suction side of things. Right, look at all this. I've got to get around these screws here. Now I know, people say, oh, you can take them out, you can put things. I know there's loads of different ways of doing it, but just showing you, if you get used to your trowel and handling it, you can get around all sorts of little situations with not much effort. Making sure you go all different ways so that you're not putting any ridges in. Bit of farting round. It's worth just taking your time and getting it neat. If you notice, I don't leave any big lines because big lines cause you issues as they start to go off. Now here we are, I've got a bit of foam here with the fibre tape over it for the expansion and contraction of the copper pipes. Going two ways in between the radiator brackets. Getting rid of all the lines as you go. Now, you think all that was, well, it's not tricky, but if that was tricky, I've still got to get up the side of here and blend in, get it nice and tight in behind them pipes. I'll show you that bit in a minute. Let's just finish this bit of wall off here first. Pay particular attention to make sure that when you go in around your back of your light switches or your sockets that you get filled out all the way in. Line your eyesight up with the lugs inside and make sure your plaster comes right up to the edge, because the last thing you want is when you screw the top box back on that there's a little gap around it, you know, where you've missed the plaster out. So just spend your time. A lot of jobs like this is just more spending a bit of time making sure that everything's done nice and neat. Now that's on now. Look at that wall, all the things I've got round, and I've just took my time to make sure there's no big lines, there's no misses, there's no bumps. It's all nice and flat-ish. You know, for the first coat, I've got around all them screws and the rad valves and everything. It's all nice and neat, you know. That's what you want to be sort of aiming for. Now, my trowel does actually fit in there. I can get up and down that quite easy. But for the benefit of the people that haven't got a 4-inch trowel, I'm going to do it with the little spatulas to show you a different little technique. So, don't need loads on your handboard, your hawk. Let's see what fits nicely. I think that one. Perfect. Wet your tool first. Always wet your tool. Now, once you load this up with a bit of gear, where would you start? Now, here's the little thing. When you're trying to fill little chases up, be it down the side of door frames, anywhere, if you pull down, the plastic is going to just drop. So I would say, you know, the majority of the time you want to pull up with your plaster. Now, if I started here and went up, and then I put the next coat, the next little bit on and went up, I've left a line there, and then the next one I put another line there. So I always start at the opposite end, pulling up, working down. Watch, I'll show you what I mean. Make sure you film this right, Kim, so you can see what I'm doing. First little bit, I'm going to get this join, because don't forget, I'm also, as well as doing this, I'm blending into the wall behind. Right, but look now, that's the first bit on. Now, as I do each consecutive little spatula full, I'm not leaving any mess because I'm working into the last lot of plaster. So there, I'm pulling up, and it's nice and neat. Again, down a bit more, nice and neat. Nice and neat, and I can go right over the lot of it as well. See, I'm going the same direction, so I can just carry on all over it, all the way up. And it leaves it neat each time. And in case you're thinking, what are you going on about, Kirk? What are you on about now? Look, if I did it the other way, come here, zoom right in, Kieran, so you can really see what's happening. If I, see there, I've started at the top and working my way down, smoothing over it. If I start at the bottom there, I've got that, and then my next bit, I've got that, and look at the mess it leaves. You know, it's leaving a mess each time. See these little steps, and then you're having to work over them, you know, flatten them in more. So it's easier to come down like this. I've got to get in neat behind all these pipes as well now. So I've got the majority of it on. So now we'll just start reaching in. Do not leave any ridges behind stuff like this, because it'll be a nightmare to try and smooth out. I'm having to sort of get the spatula in behind and then draw it up, so I'm getting a bit of stuff on it. I'm getting in behind the pipes and then I'm drawing up and smoothing it out. Any on the pipes, wipe it off as you go. Don't let it set, because when it starts to go off and you get your little spatula in there again, you're going to catch it and you're going to drag a little chunk of semi-dry plaster across your wall, so it just causes you a nightmare. So literally, when you're in awkward little spaces, clean up as you go. Okay, now again, this spatula, I'm going to leave it here because that is for fitting down there. I'll leave the tools that I need for the awkward little areas where we are, so I haven't got to go looking for them when I get to it. When I want to trowel up, they're right next to where I need them. Notice I did all the little awkward bits as I'm going round. So I'm going to get this last nice little piece on now, but I haven't got to go back and pick all the little awkward bits up all at once. I've hit them as we've got to. Every time I go and speak, he turns the camera off. Any little bits that you get on the skirting board and stuff, like that, clean them up as you go. Don't leave bits of plaster all over everything. Right, it's not a big area this, because it's only little. The bit of stuff that we have left in the bucket, we've knocked it back up again and we're second coating with it, which means it's going to go off really quick. So there's going to be a little bit less talking. What was it the king said? A little less conversation, a little more action, please. So not much talking, a bit more working, because this is going to set quite quick now. So Kieran's giving me a stick about me singing. He just said to me then off camera, do you find yourself funny? Do you think you're funny, do you? I think I'm quite a funny guy. I think I've got quite a good singing voice as well.
Funny looking.
Yeah, it's funny looking. that singing voice has worked on my missus, mate. I've wooed her that many times with my singing. How do you think I've got 4 kids? Same again, you know, the same route again, exactly the same trowel actions each time, just going up to the frame, nice and neat. See, this is going off a bit now, so can you imagine how much of a pig this would be if I had big blobs of plaster all over the door frame to deal with as well. So this way, just nice and neat up to it. I could literally go out the clappers. I could be throwing plaster everywhere, you know, going rapid, but it's slower. It's genuinely slower. Again, just making sure that the blend is blended in as I'm going. And I'm working nice and tight into that bead again as well. I've managed to get some on the door case in there. That'll be coming off in a minute with a cloth. Just got to watch them wires. You go around them wires and all of a sudden you hear pop. Nice big black hole in the edge of your trowel, so just be careful you never touch the copper part of the wires. I mean, yeah, you should turn the circuit off, but that's great in theory, but in practice you start going to customers' houses and want to turn the electric off every time you get there. They don't like it. Especially, if you turn the Wi-Fi off, that's it. Right, let's get a little tricky bit again. In this little area. By the way, anyone that's commented on my videos, if I haven't got back to you, I'm sorry. I genuinely do read all the comments. Every opportunity I get, I do have a little look, but it just gets a bit too much to try and get back to every single person. So please do not think I'm ignoring you on purpose. I'm not that type of guy, but I have got a missus and 4 kids and a business to run that all needs permanent attention, so I just haven't got the time to literally respond to every single comment. If something's really urgent though, you know, my contact details in the description of the channel. You can always go in there and email me. You know, if you're really determined that you want to get an answer for something, then you know, there are ways of getting hold of me. Just don't want anyone thinking I'm being rude on purpose, because I'm genuinely not. It's not my intention. See the little drags that you get? Don't worry about them too much. See, look, you got little drag marks and stuff. You will get them, but don't worry too much about them. You don't want massive ones. If you know, go over it once or twice more just to try and get rid of any little lumps or dry stuff. But you'll get rid of them more when you start applying water. What is left? Look, that's all that's left. That always remember, whatever you're first coated with, whatever you use for your first coating, you literally need half for your second coat. So if it's one bag to put on, it's half a bag to second coat. If it's half a bag to put on, it's quarter of a bag to second coat. Nothing worse than trying to second coat the same amount of gear, and then you've got half a bucket of finish just set, and you've got to try and get rid of it. Massive elephant poos that you've got to try and put in customers' bins or take the tip or whatever you want to do with it, you know. Pain. I like it when at the end of the job, all I've got is 2 or 3 empty bags of plastic, you know, just paper bags. Very easy to get rid of. Just for speed, I'm just using my trowel to put this bit on. Now, I'm not paying too much attention to this corner over here, because we are going to use the corner trowel, so that can be a little bit more messy than usual, than how I usually leave my corners. I need to use the little spatula to get in behind them pipes now. All I'm focusing on is inside the pipe, so there's going to be mess outside whilst I'm doing it. You know, I'm leaving mess here, but I'm getting inside done first, to making sure that that is nicely covered and there's no holes or gaps or anything in there. Once inside's done, you know, you can just flatten off outside, no problem. Same on this bit down here. Get inside done first. Get the awkward bit done first, nice and neat. And then deal with the outside. That's easy to get to afterwards. Now, when it comes to corner trowel on this bit, not yet. Don't hit that too soon with your corner trowel. I don't use it on the first coat or the second coat or the flattening in. I use the corner trowel on the first wet trowel when the stuff is really starting to firm up. That's when you get the neatest job of your corner trowel. But I don't, by the way, don't like using. In fact, I hate corner trowels. Only because I like to travel light. I like to use the minimum amount of equipment possible. The more things you've got to cart round with you, you know. It blows my mind when you get plasterers turn up with a million tools, you know, 30 trowels to do one wall. I mean, nothing, I'm not knocking no one, if that's how you like to work, but I just can't be bothered having that much stuff that I've got to sort of have around me and use. Now, even on the flattening in, when you're blending in, even when you're flattening in, you've got to wet and brush that joint in. You've got to blend that in with water. And don't worry about any little bits that sort of pull. They're okay. They will eventually calm down the more times you go over them. So I'll show you what I mean. If I brush this joint here, I'm just skipping from there to here to show you. See these little bits here where it's dragging? Don't worry. And these little scrapes, these will eventually go as you trowel it more and more with more water. See, these eventually calm down on your next couple of trowels, you know. So you will get them for a bit straight off the bat, but don't panic too much, they'll be alright. Now, don't forget we've used the same gear for second coating as what we did for first coating, and we're over a very high suction background, so we've got to sort of work efficiently. You have to lose your cool and go mad, but you haven't got time for messing around, so make sure everything you do is efficient, and the main thing is don't leave any bits. Don't leave a little rough bit. I think I will come back to that a bit because it'll set, it'll be going off. So get everything neat as you're going. You know, I almost want to get this like perfect on me flattening in. Yeah, the odd little bit doesn't matter, but I'm not just going to leave that whole area behind the radiator and go over there. I'll get that nice now before I go, you know. we've found a little bit of towel adhesive or something still on, because I can feel it as my trowel goes over it. It's there. Go in close. That is leaving a little ridge. So just take the corner of your trowel like that, go underneath it so you can see it. Look, it's just in there. It's out. It's gone. Use that if you're going over high spots of Artex. If you're going over an Artex ceiling, you've pretty much got over every single part of it, but you get the odd little bit sticking up. Just put the corner of your trowel on. Imagine that was a piece there. It's not, that's not sticking up, but imagine it was. Put your corner of your trowel in and just twist. And it comes out. I tell you that because I've seen loads of guys and they start stabbing at the wall, or they get a hammer and smash it, and you're making loads of extra mess that you don't need to. So, have a little sit down. And then it's all fairly neat. There's a little, that's the screw. Now what I'm also going to do is, when I'm coming back with the spatula, just in case there's any little misses or anything anywhere, I'm keeping my trowel with me. Because coming here now, as I go over this, there's a few little faces in it, and it's going to be very awkward to try and get them gone. So I'll just use a bit of that whilst I'm here. Yeah, just smear another little go over it. I'm applying quite a bit of pressure as well to get it in. Don't forget to get up behind the pipes. Now there is such thing as pipe trowels and all different weird and wonderful tools that you can use for getting in behind pipes. I'll tell you something that my old fella used to use. He used to get a saw, a hacksaw, not a hacksaw, sorry, a wood saw, you know what the joiners have on site. And he'd cut it down, cut all the teeth off it, and basically sharpened it up. So he used to have a big saw for getting in behind things, and these pipe trowels, but I think they're a little bit too flexible for trying to get the job dead neat. So I prefer to do it this way. But you know, this isn't the only way. There are other ways of getting in behind these. Remember, just keep the pipes clean. Any little bits you get on, just keep them cleaned off. See like that there now. See that? If I just left that, say it was behind there somewhere, and then the next go over, I caught that, it's going to cause me a little nightmare. So just get them all off. Keep it all nice and clean. Right, first wet trowel. Now, given that everything is lovely and clean, it would be ideal to have a little spray bottle in this situation, but I'm in my little truck and I haven't got one, so come in, Kieran, come in.
Abdul.
We always film from far away, but these people want to see things up close so they can see what's going on. Leave that down there still. Not the nicest thing in the world, working with 12 beads, but with a little bit of patience, it is possible. you look here, come back to this corner, show them where it's dug out. See here, there's a little gap in here where I've been going up and down this with the spatula and dug into this corner. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that just yet. It's the first wet trowel, so I am going to be dealing with this now, with the corner trowel to fix that corner. So I'm just going to get quite far into it, but then the corner trowel's going to do the rest of the work. Right, in fact, let's just do that now, let's get it out of the way. Wet it first. Then, I like to just get a nice little bit of stuff on the tip of it. Just like that. Just a little bit. Don't need loads. Oh, see, this needs a little bit more there. You don't have to put more gear on, literally just press harder into the corner. There you go. Now, one thing you've got to check for is, once you've done that, see where the wings are, and let me put this down so I can show you. When that's in there, check where these points are here. Check where these points are, because they leave lines. Now I know, there's going to be people in the comments saying, oh, you can get different corner trowels with the corners rounded off. What happens is, if your corner's rounded off, instead of leaving a line, it leaves a bulge instead, because if the stuff's too wet, it'll still push in and make a little bulge here, but you won't notice it as good, but you'll feel it and you'll see it when it's painted. Nothing wrong with them corner trowels that have got the corners off, but this is why I leave it until the first wet trowel, because there's not much chance of you moving the plaster around too much. You're literally just finishing that nice little tight corner off. I'm not the biggest fan of these, but they do have the uses. They do come in handy from time to time, but I try not to use them that much if I can. So, we're still on the first wet trowel. Start brushing your joints in, where you're blending in. So you still get these little tears, they're okay. As you work with stuff and you keep putting more fat back on, they start to go. But even if you still get them, they will eventually go. On the next trowel, they'll literally be disappearing. As the stuff starts to set, it'll stop doing it. Doesn't matter what flat brush I seem to get, eventually it starts going bald and losing its hair. So. There we go, and so on, so on. To the end. Now, there's a little, where's my little spatula gone? This is why you shouldn't move them, because you lose them. I put it out here, don't know why I did that. Pretend I left this over here like I told you. I'm going to get in now, behind the pipes. Be careful now not to nick anything if you can. It's very easy to dig in with these at this point. Just take your time. Work slow. Just get that blend. You can't really brush in there for the blend, so you just have to do the best you can. Just get it as neat as possible. Oh, I got stuck. There we go, go the other way. Sorted. Could do get the cloth in these door casings in a minute, mate. Just get any little drips off them. So all the water is for is just to lubricate the plaster. So all you're doing is just lubricating the plaster so the trowel just slides over it nice and easy. Now, there's a few little bits behind them pipes that I've noticed that I'm not super made up with. So there's the small tool. Let me just grab this. Now, Take your small tool. The fat that came off from the first flattening in is here, and it's going really thick on the side of the bucket, you know, it's going off. This fat is fine to use. So take your small tool, it reaches in a bit easier to any little awkward spots. So any little bits that you're not super happy with, you can reach in and get them nice with that. It fits in a lot easier than the spatulas do. Sorry, I'm trying to talk to you because I'm concentrating. I'm just like, do. Oh man, oh no, I can't multitask. That's it, I'm quite happy with that now. Right, it's at this point, I like to just, whilst the stuff isn't rock hard, I mean this is okay, but I can go round now and just trim around my back boxes, get them nice. Now, there's a reason I'm doing it at this point. If you leave it till later and the stuff's rock hard and you hit it and you take a big chunk off, you can't fix it. So if I accidentally gouged a big bit out now, the stuff's still soft enough that I can fix it. If you leave it to the end, you can't. And don't leave it for the electricians to do. Don't just leave loads of plaster in your sockets and think you'll be fine, because trust me, these guys will just come in with hammers and smash it out and put their little thing on, and you'll be getting a phone call to go back because there's big chunks of plaster missing. So let's give it a little wipe down now whilst we've got 5 minutes before the second wet trowel. Now just look, see all this here? Zoom right in, key, right in. This is silicone. This has nothing to do with me, it's not plaster. It's just silicone that's been left on, so as long as there's no plaster in there, that's the main thing. It's a bit scraggy, this door casing, because there's still all bits of tile adhesive and stuff up it, but sure the decorator will deal with that. Okay, second wet trowel. It's basically not far off now because of the suction in the background and the fact we use the same stuff. It's got in quite quick, but that's why it's important to do everything as neat as possible, because once it starts picking up, if it's a mess, then it just makes your life an absolute nightmare. Give that angle a little brush in now. In case anyone's watching me come up this angle, I always end up coming up the right hand side. I always end up coming up the right hand side angle upside down, only because my hands always seem to hit the wall when I go that way. So I'm just used to now coming in from this direction and coming up instead, which, you know, isn't ideal, but I've got a thin trowel, so that's what I have to do. Take that, quick flick over, quick polish, that's blended in lovely. Do a quick flick over and put all these, put this switch back on. Now, the only thing is, that's blended in lovely there. I know it looks a bit ropey, but you can't feel it, it feels lovely. It's because the finishing plaster is blended in to the original plaster. So it's not very pleasing to the eye now, but it's smooth to the touch and it'll be nice when it's all painted up. Also, there's a few things, look here, look at the top of these skirting boards. This isn't covered in plaster. This is all cleaned off. What that is when it was tiled, It wasn't painted, the top of it, so that's just bare wood. So it looks a bit messy because it's a similar colour to this, but it's not plaster. Always make sure everything's all cleaned down, you know. This is just the tiles have been took off, but there's no plaster on there. Now you can just keep polishing till it's like glass. I mean, it's got a bit of a shine on it, but I'm not going too mad. Really, for me, the polish is just the last little look over, last little opportunity to find any, well yeah, look, I've actually found one, so this is a good thing to show you. Wait there 1 second. The polish, this is the sort of thing I'm looking for. Where's it gone now? There was a little bit. There, look. Zoom in there, Kim. Look, see that? Can you see that little face there? I don't know if you can see it in a certain light, but I've just took a little tiny bit of fat off the side of the bucket. Well, there you go. Can you see it now? Yeah? A little bit of fat off the bucket. There you go. Just blend that in. That's more wide polish, just because it's the last little chance to look over everything and make sure you're happy with everything. That's it. Job done. So, if you enjoyed that, then feel free to give me a little... give us a forget it, doesn't matter. Keep recording. I've been trying to turn it off. Right, that's it. Job done. Don't forget, in the description, if you want to buy me a pint, say thanks for all the tips and info, Kirk, then you can do that. But otherwise, have a great day. Cheers.